We're back.
We're back.
We're live.
We need to work out how we're gonna do these introductions on Skype.
Episode 9. Culture Cafe. Welcome back.
Here we are.
Episode 9. Okay.
What's
we'll
up?
Put,
How are
maybe
you
the
guys?
intro. Maybe we'll get the intro loop going as well. Anyway.
This
Good,
is pretty
thank
raw.
you.
This could provide humor.
Yeah. This is the real shit.
Okay.
Good, thank you, Owen. Yeah, it's good. 5 o'clock or thereabouts over here in Melbourne.
Yeah,
in a
winding
sunny
down
day.
today.
We've got
Thanks.
Sam Mosen with me,
I'm here this time.
Sam,
the brains behind the video audio visual operation of the podcast.
welcome, Sam.
Yeah.
This is the debut, on-screen debut,
It is, yeah. No, happy to be
which
here.
is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much
what-
for all the help you've been giving us with the.
Oh man, it's been fun. It's been a good little creative outlet for me.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Don't know if the viewers know, but I've had a broken foot for about 7 weeks, so plenty of time on my hands for creative pursuits.
Yeah. It's coming
Awesome.
at the perfect time.
We love it.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, the timing of that's just perfect. I'm sorry you broke your leg, but at the same time,
Yeah.
Not too so.
yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with the silver lining.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So
what are we
it's 9
talking about
o'clock here in The Hague,
mm,
5 o'clock in Melbourne. Maybe that would be a nice thing to say every time we start the episodes. Just like,
Oh yeah,
that'd be cool.
that's good.
International time zones.
International time zones.
Yeah.
Really,
You guys can
really
give me
drive it home.
You guys can give me a heads up about what Friday's like, so I can come into the day prepared, because you guys have already lived it. So like, you're technically in the future.
Yeah, we'll let you
Oh,
know.
that's so interesting. So what are we talking about today, Owen?
Today we're going to talk about a multitude of different avenues, but all leading towards uni life. I think is the general go.
umbrella.
Actually, not I think. Yeah, that's the umbrella. That's definitely what we're talking about today. So, I guess like we'll run through uni life and stress, your career at the end of uni and direction, deferring uni, money whilst at uni, and then part-time work at uni. How do we balance that with our studies and swapping courses, all that kind of stuff. And we're just going to have a chat about
going on.
yeah, well, from our own experiences as well.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I know when I first went to uni, I'm sure everyone had the same experience. You're sort of learning this new thing out of nowhere, and you have to immediately know what's up and how it all works. So the extra advice wouldn't have gone astray for me. I know that. So
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you're a uni student out there with a few doubts,
or a Year 12 student about to do their exams.
about to embark on the next step,
Yeah.
tune in. So I was thinking maybe we could start by just giving a rundown on our own situations at the moment in terms of uni. So what course did we start with? Are we still doing that course? And what's our direction after that course? Curtis, do you want to kick us off with that?
Sure, I definitely have the most interesting story in this regard. So I started
100%.
off straight out of high school doing a Bachelor of Business, and that had appealed to me because economics was probably my favorite subject in Year 12, and I thought, do an economics major and a business degree would be really interesting to me. And then after about a semester's time, I don't know, I was definitely at at that time in my life, I was getting very skeptical of whether this was an appropriate path, for my beliefs and like my personality type. So I changed to a Bachelor of Design, and I spent about a year doing an architecture program through that, which I was actually quite enjoying. I reflect upon. But no, now I've transferred to a Bachelor of Science, done a semester of that, and now deferred. So that's where I am right now.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a bit all over the place, and I'm happy to admit that, I'm not 100% sure what my direction is, but I know that I'm trying to trust the process, and I'd rather jump around now than, go just get something done. And then I'm stuck in that career that I'm hating, in the future.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And what about you, Sam? What's your
Well,
situation?
I remember when we first sort of all got together to talk about this, that was something that came up, was that Like when
Yeah.
I told you my story, you're like, oh, I'm not the only one that's like deferred so many times. So, I mean, I was similar, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I think leaving school, I was definitely in a circle that had a big focus on what you were going to be earning when you're older. So my search for a degree was very much what's going to get me a job, what's going to pay me well. IT was my first direction. I went and thought, hey, how cool would it be to get good at computers, the language of the future. Then did about 2 weeks of that and realized that I was just not going to get anywhere in this course. It was, everyone in there knew what they were doing and I was just way out of my depth. And like I tried to give it a crack, but I wasn't even enjoying it like a little bit. So pulled some strings at uni. I remember I was going to see a lot of lecturers in person. And I was like, how can I get from here to a science degree before like next semester? Like I want to start the science degree this semester. And you know, like just pissed off everyone at uni basically until it happened. And I moved over about week 5 and played catch up.
Fuck.
Yeah, played catch up after week 5. But I mean, it was a good lesson in terms of what's possible at uni and what you can do. I felt like I cheated the system, but you know, if you push for it, you can really sort of get things done. I mean, I like to think of it, you're a customer at unis.
Oh, totally.
And if you've got the money, if you're paying for it, then they have to give you that degree as long as you do the work. So I caught up, I got the marks, and I did 2 years of science. It was a science business double degree, actually. It was my second preference. And loved it. I did like it. I did like the course. I liked everything that I was studying. But ended up switching at the start of this year. Took a complete new direction. Decided that I really wanted to chase what was maybe an old dream of becoming a pilot, with this rekindled hope that now university could pay for it. So yeah, now I'm studying aviation, hoping that HEX will pay off the enormously expensive license that comes with flying a plane. But
yeah, so I imagine the debt associated with becoming a pilot is somewhat greater than other
it's huge.
general courses.
Especially with the 2 years of uni that I've already done, I've worked out that I'll max out my HEX threshold and I'll actually have to front some of the costs myself. So
that seems really interesting, because I know that's the case in professions such as, you know, in medical degrees and stuff like that. But that surprised me, because like the wage of a commercial pilot doesn't scale as much as like a doctor. So
it's so for sure. I'm sure the average, you would have some very well paid pilots out there, but the average is certainly not.
It's probably because of the cost of providing the degree, having to put people up practicing flying planes and stuff is very expensive.
For sure, it's all the training. The training is the expensive part for sure. But I mean, the fact that I could get as far as I'm going to get with HEX is awesome. Yeah. So yeah, big ups to Australia for making that happen.
Yeah, big ups. We have it pretty good over here.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Owen? What's the sitch?
Well, mine's pretty straightforward, Sitch, actually. I left high school and I got straight into a Bachelor of Applied Sciences project management at RMIT. And I enjoyed the first year a lot. I hated the second year. I came very close to dropping out and starting an electrical apprenticeship. Like very, very close. I was almost signing up for the pre-apps and everything. Then just thought, fuck it, I'll wait. I'll finish my second year and then reassess. Finished the second year, had the whole summer holidays to think about some stuff. Went away, got back, and then I was like, well, now I may as well do the first semester of the third year and see how I feel. Did that, got really lucky with some cool lecturers and enjoyable subjects. My course really opened up in terms of letting me direct my learning. Which, a quick rundown, it was very building and the commercial construction scene dominated, whereas I'm more into something that's going to be on the human resourcing side and disaster relief. So I got the option to study that, and I sort of really, really fell back in with the course, started to enjoy it, and I think I'll stick it out for the 4 years. Currently, I'm doing exchange though, so I'm studying a few different subjects that are my electives. They take up my elective space back in RMIT, and then when I get back, I'll have 1 more year to go, and if I pass that, then that'll be the degree done. So I haven't swapped course at all during my time, but I will be deferring the first semester of next year, just due to time with my semester over here. They do it differently. They have it like September to January. I'd rather not get back and have 2 semesters back to back. So I'm going to defer and probably either stay here or go back home and work. And I've sort of been thinking like I might just defer next year entirely, just because I don't know what my plans are or any of that. But like that's something I'll decide when the dates come to it. So
it's nice to have
project management,
that freedom though at this age, I think.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I used to get stressed first year uni that deferring was something that was going to sort of set me back in the later years, and that's definitely been nice. It's nice now you talk to people and they're like, you know, like you can take time off, take a year off, like as long as you're still sort of moving in a direction, like that's good.
Yeah, as long as you're not spinning your wheels and you're making progress. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, taking time off is such a good thing to do. Like you said before, it's really important to not get stuck in some like shitty job because you just thought that it was what you needed to do. Like really search for like what you want to do. Hey.
And I feel as well, for me, it was like I had the same doubts about deferring. And I thought like, oh, you know, once I defer, I'm not going to go back. And you hear all these horror stories about people who just never finish their degree and then have to pay off HECS. Like not swap to another degree, just do like 3 years of uni and then don't get a degree at all. And then I had a chat to one of my mum's friends, and she had deferred like 4 times over a 4-year degree. So she took like 8 years to finish this degree. And she was really high up. She was really happy with her life and was like really comfortable, living really comfortably. And she said to me, it was like a few months ago, she was at a family dinner and she was like, don't worry about it. Take it easy. There's no rush. Like you'll get to where you need to be if you put in the work and like make the right decisions. Because deferring isn't taking a step backwards. It's like taking a step forward in some regards because you're like giving yourself time to think and maybe work, get a bit of cash. Still with the end goal, the same end goal. You know, you want that degree, and then if you know what career you want, you have that end goal of getting that career at some stage.
For sure.
Yeah, I can't recommend deferral enough. I know some other people share my sentiment. One of them is Bridget Cush, who we had on about two episodes ago. I think, it's really good. And as you say, it can be a step forward for some people or a step to the side. You know, it can really give you a shift in perspective being outside the pressure of selecting your courses and your subjects and like, what are you doing next semester? And it can sort of, I think for me, it's given me a little bit of breathing space to like step back and be like, I don't have to do anything. I can just be here and consider a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So there's like a quick intro on where we're all at currently. Something that could be interesting to like a nice segue. Do you guys have any idea what you want to do as a career?
Well, I mean, I'll start because I feel like it's a pretty obvious answer for me now. I know this time last year I had no idea, like absolutely no idea. And then that transition coming into doing aviation, I know like it wasn't smooth. It wasn't like, oh, this is what I want to do. I don't think it's ever really going to be like that for me or maybe for anyone, but I know I did it and I kind of had to say, like I made the transition and I kind of had to say to myself, like, you're going to have doubts. There's going to be moments where you're going to think, oh, this might not work out. Maybe this isn't the best thing I should do. But the fact that I put off a 2-year course to go and pick this up was enough for me to be like, this is important that I finish it. And so it's that constant, I feel like I'm just constantly reminding myself, but in a good way, that this is something that I want to do and that I should keep myself motivated to do that and to get there. And so when I think about what I want to do in the future, I want to fly planes, like for sure. I want to do that.
Nice.
But I do find a little bit of comfort, and I feel like there's definitely some conflict here. I feel like we'll definitely, I've heard so many people be like, you can't think that way. My mum, the main example, but I think that thinking that you're going to go and do one thing and then do it for the rest of your life is not a good way to think about. It might work for some people, but for me especially, I want to go fly planes, but I don't want to do that forever. I want to have a career that really branches out and does like a whole lot of different things and keeps my life interesting, you know?
For sure.
I think that's important for me. So yeah, to answer your question, I know what I want to do for the first section of my career, but I don't know where it'll take me.
Nice. I reckon that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. It'll have you in the field, and there's so many different positions in that field that you can go to.
For sure. I'm so like this last couple of months especially has been quite like mentally testing for me to really get to that point. It was a hard conclusion to draw for sure, because there is so much pressure to get a good job and to work towards
and it's like
a
what constitutes
position.
What constitutes a good job or a good position, you know, like
pay usually. I know a lot of people are.
And I think in the year 12 environment, I mean the ATAR itself is is symbolic of such a concept, because it's literally a ranking. So we're trying to be on a better rank than like the person next to us in class, and that extends to tertiary choices. I think straight out of high school, people would definitely have the Benjamins and the dollar bills in mind when they. Some do, at least. I mean, I know I did when I was choosing my courses. Straight out
for sure. I wouldn't have picked IT for the fun of it. It wasn't something that I was into, but it was definitely a financial choice.
Yeah. No, I feel like I walked into my course with the exact same ideas in my head. I thought I was going to go in and be a construction manager and make dollar bills, and then I got a job in that area. I hated it, did not enjoy it. It was just shit. And I was like, not to say that the job, the position itself and the people around me were all fantastic, and it was a great experience, but for me it wasn't a fit. It's probably a better way to describe it. And once I realized that, that's when I had all my doubts, and then I was like, shit, I've walked into this just thinking about money, and then money stopped being a motivator for me, and I was just like, what am I going to do? Then I reassessed the course, realized that I can take other avenues and look into other options. And when I realized that there were options there that really interest me genuinely out of a passion rather than money, it's like, I want to be doing this. I want to live comfortably when I'm an adult, but first and foremost, I want to be able to get up in the morning, do my job, look forward to going to my job, and then come home in the evening and feel satisfied with what I've done. Is this giving me purpose? Is it fulfilling my goals and my purposes in life? Because I don't want to retire and be like, shit, I have money, but what was the last 50, 60 years about? And the retiring age is just going to keep climbing. So we've got long careers ahead of us.
Yeah. Make them diverse. Make them diverse and find something that you love.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing it for a while.
And I feel like if you're doing something that you love, you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to want to do a good job of it. And if you're doing a good job at something, I feel like getting a good paycheck is just going to fall into place. And a good paycheck doesn't have to be 6 figures or 7 figures or whatever. It just has to be something that means you can
pretty ambitious.
Shoot high, mate. It just has to be something that can, for me, I just want something where'd I go? You threw me off, Curtis. Fuck, man. Just doesn't have to be a certain amount or a certain figure. It just has to be enough so that I can live comfortably and do something I enjoy in the weekend. So I don't know, go to the beach, or I don't know if you're into 4-wheel driving, or if you're into photography. If you can support your hobbies on the side, then that's probably enough money.
That's a good goal to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I remember that's something that's always stuck with me. Still has kind of, and for better or worse, it's something that my mum said. It was she said that, you know, like it's while it's important to look for something that you love, you've like with my parents have sort of given me such a good upbringing. I've adapted to that kind of lifestyle. And it's important to recognize the lifestyle that you've adapted to, because if you want to, like, you have to consider that as if you want to keep on living that lifestyle, if you want to go on ski trips once a year, you're going to have to find a job that can support that.
Yeah, definitely.
And and I think those things are sparable for a lot of people. It's like, well, if I would rather have something that I would enjoy, and I would have to go on cheaper holidays or maybe no holidays. But it's all about the individual and where you hold preference.
Yeah, that's whenever conversations come up about, you know, life satisfaction and monetary earnings, an image always flashes in my mind, and that's a graph that I was shown during a subject in uni about a year ago. And I can't remember the reference, but probably can find it actually and put it in the description. But
check it out.
it basically was responses to a survey on like how would you rate your happiness on a scale of 100 or something like that. And it interviewed people from basically every country in the world, and it found so it looks sort of like a the graph of, you know, like a square root or something. So but at about $10,000, it plateaued at US dollars adjusted, you know, for foreign exchange worldwide. So by the time you're earning over $10,000 US dollars a year, and you have like the facilities to, you know, fulfill a very, you know, basic needs, it's very hard to actually like just statistically increase your happiness through monetary earning.
Was it 10,000 or was it a little bit higher?
No, it was 10,000. So 10,000
that
US
sounded
dollars.
like low to me as well.
Yeah, well, no, but that's like worldwide. So, you know, for example, if there's a, you know, very poor nations and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it's adjusted, but it was done in a way that it was statistically significant, I'd imagine.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting.
That is, I think I've seen that floating about on Facebook before, and like I know Facebook isn't reliable, but like I've definitely heard about that graph. I think, I guess it's like
that's a good point, really. Like,
it is such a good point, and I feel like with like getting these big careers about like with massive paychecks, say you get like you leave uni and you get I don't know 50 to 60K a year, and you're like, sweet, I'm gonna move out of home, and then like a few years later you get a pay rise, and you're like, oh beautiful, now I can buy a new car. So you buy like a big, I don't know what you're into, but like you buy a faster car than the one you have that takes more petrol, and then you're like, shit, I've got this new house, I've got this new car, I need more pay. So you get another pay rise, then you get the pay rise, and you're like, oh, cool, now I can upgrade my car and my house. So you do that again. And then it's just like an endless cycle of that. Whereas if you're on a paycheck that you're comfortable with, and you recognize that you can be comfortable with that paycheck, and you're not searching for more and more money, you learn how to just live comfortably with what you've got.
So
that's not to say that progress is a bad thing.
No. So, and I think the theory you're describing is called the hedonic treadmill. And it's like, so you're on a treadmill, you know, pleasure, you experience pleasure by, you know, doing something, for example, buying an expensive car, but ultimately sort of you return to your steady state. Everyone sort of returns to their like normal level of happiness, and then they're looking for the next thing, and they're running on a treadmill.
Yeah. Well, that was in the Power of Now, a book that Curtis and I read in our book club, and it was like, if you're constantly looking forward to the next big thing, then you're never living presently, and you're never actually going to enjoy yourself in the moment. Which sounds super cheesy, but like I 100% back it, because then you're just constantly waiting for the next best thing until you're on your deathbed, and then that's it. So it's like,
I mean, I agree with that, actually. I agree with it wholeheartedly. I think that's such a good point. But at the same time, I don't think it's so bad to want that and to live your life a different way. Because I mean, I've definitely had like friends in the past, and even like arguments in the past, where it's kind of like where you just you have to understand that like maybe you want this, maybe you're more inclined to live that kind of really happy, modest life. Whereas someone might really enjoy that chase, like really, really love it.
That's what they get their kick out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's like such an individual thing. You know, we can sit down and talk about our own our own views and beliefs on the thing, which is what this podcast is about. But like, if you're sitting down and you're listening to this and you're like, no, man, like I want that Lamborghini, I want that house in Chilrack.
I
Like,
want that Rolex. Like,
go get it. Go chase it. Good
Yeah.
good for you. Like, just if that gives you a kick, then that's what you got to do, man. 100%. But for the people who maybe feel pressured to do that without truly wanting to do that, I think that's what we're kind of appealing to here. Like, we're just sort of.
And it'd be good to do some introspection and think, why am I motivated to do these things?
Yeah,
Why do
I think
want
that's
these
a good.
objects?
That's probably almost a more important point is to really understand, your motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you are into that chase and you do want the chase for those bigger and better items and bigger paycheck, which, as we said, is fair enough. Maybe like enjoy the chase. Don't just constantly think about what the chase is going to bring you. So then you're actually going to enjoy it while it's happening. Because if that's your motivator, then you should enjoy your motivator because that's where you're getting your kick from.
Yeah, definitely. And back to thinking about direction, Owen, what did you have in mind once you graduate? I know yours is an interesting one, so it's good to talk about your one.
So as I said, I was interested in being a construction manager, not anymore. After a bit of research in semester one, I've decided I want to try and get into like humanitarian relief and disaster control. So working with charitable organizations sort of globally, just whenever a disaster strikes a third world country, a country or a community that can't quite cope with that issue on their own, you have disaster control implementations put in. So how are we going to get their water back up and running, for example, or how are we going to get electricity going through this town again after what's happened? Because they may not have the resources or the management expertise to implement a new system. So I'm still very like green on the whole topic and the whole career, and I don't know much about it, but like from a look at it, I'd have to go and do a master's in it because it's not exactly taught in our course per se.
So what's that a master's in? Like in damage control? Or...
It would probably be a master's in damage control, disaster control.
Disaster control, yeah.
Well, at RMIT, there's a really good, it's a master of disaster, something in sustainable development, I think I've heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a weird name.
Yeah, which would be definitely like pairing that up with sustainability and sort of pushing these communities back in the right direction is really that. I reckon that's what I'd get a kick out of, not the disasters occurring. Obviously, that's a bit sick. So like I did the Cambodian immersion in year 11 in high school, and I did it and I felt great about it. And then when I finished it, I kind of forgot about it. And only recently I've been thinking about it, and I was like, that gave me so much value and so much benefit. Why shouldn't I do that as a career? And I'll get to travel, which is a huge plus for me because like that's something I really want to do. I really want to go out and see the world. So it's looking like a real potential career choice for me. Obviously, I just have to research into it a lot more. But that's my direction. That's where I'd like to be heading.
That's really cool. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's one of those. I've never even heard of that as a degree.
Yeah, it's
before.
definitely a niche. And a well-needed one.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. That level of reward you get from that.
Thanks for the support, guys.
Yeah, I hope you do it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Get some friends that support your career decisions.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
That's so important.
That's
cool. So those are Curtis. What was your direction and career?
Well,
this is the big question.
Funny you should ask that because recently I've been having a lot more resolution about what I'd like to do in the future. Unfortunately, it came like a few days after not unfortunately, but it's like I've deferred all these courses that I had options to do this semester. One of them being slightly relevant, a science and arts double degree. But
it's not gone anyway.
No, it's not. I've got the spot still for the start of next year. So I'm thinking of doing a bachelor. So I'm back to sort of somewhere where I started doing a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in economics, and a double major with international relations. Ooh. So economics and international relations. And in terms of career, I would hope that would lead me towards something similar, humanitarian and sustainable development, either, with a human-centric lens or an environmental-centric lens. So either something that I can do to help the environment or help humans, probably through an international, multinational charity organization such as, the UN or Oxfam or something like that. So
Sure, yeah.
economics for good, essentially.
Yeah.
Because that's what's always interested me.
You're in high demand for sure. The world needs some some eco warriors up there.
See you out there, partner.
Yeah, exactly. We could be working on the same thing, legit.
Yeah, and I'll just keep polluting that atmosphere.
Yeah, you can fly us over there.
Fly us in. Coming in hot.
We had a subject this year called sustainable aviation, because obviously sustainability is such a big part of aviation because we're such a big contributor. That's the thing. Like airplanes contribute so much to all the damage that we're doing to our atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because you hear a lot. Well, I mean, there's so many talks worldwide, and you hear about all these, summits and people getting together to talk about it and tackle these issues worldwide. And it's like, well, how do they get there? So they fly. It's like, well, there's this weird contradictory. We need to work together as a globe, but our main means of travel to do that is flying.
Really interesting. Well, one of the reasons that Greta Thunberg, that that little girl who's the autistic girl who started the Fridays for the Future, the school strikes for climate that happen every Friday. The girl who started that, she had to attend a summit somewhere in Europe, and she went there by racing, solar powered racing yacht, and it was like really fast. Obviously, it's like it's an alternative. Yeah,
good on her.
Good to walk the walk.
Yeah.
But as you say, as incomes increase globally and everyone has high standards of living, the demand for travel increases so much.
Well, it already has.
Poorer people want to travel and see the world, and it's a thing that a lot of people would find it hard to go without. Like, I'm an environmentalist, but at the same time, I have a strong desire to go overseas, and generally that's via flying. So alternatives to the current system are going to be 100% necessary because it's so bad for the environment.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like with the amount of money that's poured into aviation, not to have a go at your career goals or anything, Sam.
Yeah,
but sorry.
No,
it's like with the amount that goes into it and the amount that these multinational airlines have in revenue.
Oh my God, it is incredible.
Surely there is something they could do, even if they put just donate some of their money into some sort of project that looks into a high-speed rail connecting Europe. Like, even if it's just Europe to get us started, because it's all landlocked, then it would just be. I completely lost myself again.
Yeah,
it's the high-speed rail network. I feel like they could get fast enough and efficient enough to run on wind power or solar energy, something renewable. And that could transport people to these summits as fast as
those kind of organizations do kind of exist, but maybe you're right, maybe nowhere near enough to an extent where airlines and rail and then cars and all kinds of transport should all really sort of work together under the same category to get that happening. At the moment, it does sort of seem like they're doing it individually. The most prevalent, probably the cars. We're obviously working quite hard to make these cars eco-friendly, but why not fix the planes and the trains as well? They're all contributing.
Yeah, definitely. Public transport's a major key as well.
100%. I feel like maybe we could be looking at a bit of a Star Wars setup one day where it's just the Senate, but it's all holograms. Like, no one's actually there.
Yeah, what we're doing now, Skype call. Why the fuck do they have these conferences and you can just
the G7 over Skype?
Yeah, literally just get a huge panel of 150 or whatever, how many heads.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I know there are a lot of material limitations that we have in getting there and becoming that sustainable in terms of flying and transporting people, but there is so much money. I always come back to that thought. No matter what we're talking about, I always think there's so much money in the world that surely. And then you got to think we invented money too. Why can't we just get things happening?
Yeah, just print dollar bills. That'll be fine. Yeah.
It's worked in the past.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, so
Um,
yeah, economics for good, mate. Important
Yeah,
shit.
I
So
feel like
that's
we should get back onto our
I agree.
yeah.
uni course discussion. How do you guys feel about part-time work whilst you're at uni?
I feel like it's taken as it's usually a given that if you're at uni in Australia that you work at the same time, which is
Yeah, I've
interesting.
met very few people that don't. In fact, I don't know if I've met any. Everyone sort of has a part-time job and they need to sort of support.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
100%.
well, in saying that, it's usually to support their social life while they're at uni as
Yeah,
well.
It's
Like
not
you
me so
do.
much.
There are families out there where the parent will say, look, you don't need to work, you don't need to pay rent. You can just stay here and until your degree is done. And I think that's so good
yeah,
from parents that are able to do that and choose
definitely.
to. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't inhibit. It hasn't inhibited my uni course. I think in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's good to like it teaches you balance and time control. Like it's actually
Yeah.
really beneficial to practice that. All right, I've got a lecture at 12 and then I'll stay in the city because I have work at 5 o'clock and I'll just study in between then. Like just learning to think like that and use your time effectively. I think it's super beneficial.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting, I guess, because it's sort of a given in Australia that you work at the same time, but I guess that stands in opposition to a lot of other countries where people will travel long distances to attend a university that's not in their hometown and they
Yeah.
live there and often, it's going to be, they're going to be taking out loans or
Yeah.
having their parents pay for it.
That's a huge thing over here. I haven't met a single person who plans on working whilst they study.
Oh,
Like
okay.
at all.
Yeah.
Everyone's funded by like a weekly allowance from their parents back home.
Mm.
And yeah, so like I know
And
because I know myself.
surely some assistance from the government as well.
I think I haven't looked into it because I just know that I'm not eligible for it, but I believe, and I could be I think I back myself here. I think you have to be working um like something like 56 hours a month here
Mm-hmm.
to get a loan out. So like you can't just get a loan. You have to there's a few prerequisites. So a lot of people who are coming here from different countries can't get the loan because they also don't have a bank account here. And then they're getting money from their parents seems to be the main
The
setup.
main way to do it.
Yeah, so I admit like that's not really a question that I ask people like how they're funding their time here, but so they're definitely
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting one to ask, but maybe some people are getting jobs and I just haven't met them yet. Maybe I'm completely wrong about the loan system, but for the most part, anyway, it's the bank of mum and dad.
Yeah. Okay.
Zero interest
Zero
loans over there, so sorry, I
negative
stole your
interest
joke.
loans.
Sorry.
That's right. Don't worry about it, man.
Well, I know because I mean I'm sure it works like wildly different from country to country how the money's distributed to education and all that. I would wonder how it works in most places in Europe as a continent. I wonder how that
Yeah.
how
Well,
they distribute it. Because I know
Yeah.
I think I could be completely wrong, but my stepmom is French. She was like born and raised in France, and she'd always say that education is free and should be free, and that's how they do it in France.
yeah.
And it used to be in Australia.
Well, yeah, it used to be here as well. So I wonder if it's changed over there. Is sort of where I was
Yeah.
getting to that. But yeah.
Well, I know that like a lot of my auntie, she paid for her university degree, and she's very like whenever I complained about having to pay for uni and like well not yet once I have to pay off my hex, she's like you have to
That'll
pay
be
for uni.
fun.
She's just of the mindset that like it's uni, you get a career out of it, you have to pay for it. Like everyone, it just varies across Europe, I guess, that opinion.
It's a pretty
Also
hard
another
mindset
thing.
to have.
Sorry.
Pretty hard mindset to have. I
Yeah,
remember I once got commissioned to do like just a wedding video for a family friend of ours for $500 for the weekend, and she paid me the $500 before the weekend, And man, my motivation to do that video
went
and to do
straight
it
down.
well just dropped. Like just
Fuck.
no motivation at all.
Damn. Yeah.
So I'm hoping Hex will be a bit different. Hey, they just give us
Yeah.
the education and expect us to want to work it off later. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess I'm definitely of the opinion that getting a part-time job whilst you're at uni is super, super beneficial. It means you can like,
yeah,
you can buy yourself some nice things. You can move out of home maybe if you've got a good enough role in your part-time job.
yeah.
And you can just like enjoy yourself. You can buy a microphone and start a podcast, that sort of shit. You've just got a bit of
Who would
money.
do
You're not
that?
always asking mum. Yeah, some people do that. I don't know. I've heard that's a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not always asking mum and dad for money, like like that's a shitty feeling when you have to ask like for money. I reckon. I
yeah.
don't like that. So it's nice to have your own money, and
You can
you meet
save.
people
You
through
can
job.
save up, go travel, see the world. Like that seems to be.
Some people
Yeah,
do that as well.
some
Yeah,
people do that. Some people save
yeah,
up and they go on exchange.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for
Weird.
just work ethic and just at some point you can't be, like living off your parents. I reckon it's like
Yeah,
obviously I reckon it's good to just actually do something for yourself.
Mm.
yeah. Good like mentally as well to just get out and just do a bit of work, mate.
Just a bit of work,
Just
mate.
do a bit of
Yeah,
work, mate.
Just
Yeah.
needs to be
just
done.
a-
It does need to be
I,
done.
I reckon 10-hour days, 5 days a week is probably an ideal schedule for
A uni student.
for a uni student.
Yeah, I feel like if you're not doing 50 plus hours a week, then I don't know, maybe you're a bit soft, like
Maybe a bit lazy.
bit late. This generation, mate. This
Yeah.
Yeah,
generation.
when I was your age, I was fucking working 50 hours a. But
Oh man,
but
I
as
caught
for
that from the parents that many times.
but as for having to pay for your own education, to an extent, but poor people, it's not that easy.
Yeah,
Poor people
I
can't
agree.
do that.
100%. Yeah, it's like uni and education should be accessible by everyone. By putting a price tag on it, you definitely take away that opportunity for people who aren't of the same socioeconomic
Oh, yeah.
status as
And you
the
ruin
one we come
the integrity of it. I've spoken
Yeah.
to, like my girlfriend's parents, especially. We had this big conversation about how much it cost them to go to uni and how big of a deal it was to like be accepted and to go to uni for them.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
really interesting to think because nowadays it's almost expected that you go and you have to pay
Yeah,
for
it's not
it. But
it's not that special now to go to like to say, oh, I have a uni degree. It's like, don't we all, or aren't we all going to have one at some
right,
stage?
yeah, and you go to uni and the classes are all so big. Like that's so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
There should
all
be a system.
spending 30, 40 grand to get that
Yeah.
degree. It's like,
I know they have like scholarships, but I feel like the amount of scholarships they offer compared to the amount of roles that could be given to people who are smart but don't have the money is not it doesn't fit. It does not match up at all. They have like
yeah,
I feel like there's a few scholarships and they're like looking for prodigies and it's like I don't know. I think
yeah. There are. I would say that there are a few. There are a lot of scholarships that are targeted towards you have to be able to show that you're from a low income family or unrepresented school, and they do have scholarships for that. But are you saying perhaps that should be even more of an emphasis?
I think it should be, yeah, because
Mm.
like it's just I feel like we all went to private schools in like pretty good areas and we had such a great opportunity to go to uni and we all took that
Yeah.
opportunity obviously, whereas I definitely know that some people don't go to uni because they're just like not like how am I going to pay that off, and yeah, or it starts even at the basic roots of being in a high school that doesn't push for uni purely because they couldn't afford a better high school. But I feel like that's a way deeper conversation that can be done on
Yeah,
society and
Yeah, that could be
politics
a
maybe
good
one
as
day.
good as
That's a huge
topic.
yeah,
Education.
basic universal
Yeah.
income could swing into that one. That'd be an interesting chat.
Yeah. But yeah, well, back
with Joe
on
Rogan.
topic. So
Yeah.
we was talking about part-time work. I think we're all
Yeah.
for it. I think it's
Yeah,
very much an Australian attitude to be all for it.
Yeah, just do a bit of work, mate.
Do you want to talk about? I mean, obviously you haven't started your exchange, but like, what are you looking forward to? What are you excited about? What was the process like? 'Cause,
The
I mean,
process was pretty shit. I didn't enjoy it
Yeah.
at all. It was just like a whole lot of waiting, like a crazy amount of waiting just to be. First of all, you have to get a study plan approved. So
Yeah.
you get, actually, no, first of all, you have to get accepted into a uni. So you do that. RMIT have to be like, yep, we're happy to send you. Your grades are good enough. And then, so you pass that. And then you have to get in touch with your program coordinator and give them a study plan so that when you get back to Melbourne, you're going to be able to continue your studies and you have all your credits and you've knocked off the subjects that you're essentially missing back in Australia.
Yeah.
So you have to get that approved. And that can be a pretty shit process because you have to go into these unis and find out which ones are going to offer courses and units that can link up with your course back in Melbourne. So for me, that took a while. And it's just a long process. But I guess if you're motivated enough and you want to do the exchange, you're going to do it.
Yeah, you're just gonna get it done.
Yeah. So then after that, you get that approved. And then RMIT, basically, it's like this. For me, it was like a 6 to 7 month period of zero communications. I was going to the office like
Yeah.
every once a month asking like what's to go here. I need to know if I'm going or not so I can book tickets, find accommodation,
Yeah.
all that shit. And they were just like, we're just waiting on your host university. So that's the Hague University of Applied Sciences over here to accept your position. And that just took so long. Like I get there's a lot of administration going on, but it was just like right at the last minute that I found out. I found out that I was going maybe 3 months before
Really? So you booked your
the semester started.
flight, what, like maybe even like two months out?
Yeah, 2 months out. I got my
Oh.
accommodation sorted like a month and a half out. It was like
And they really,
really stressful. Like it definitely put me in a place where I was just like, I didn't want to do the exchange because I was a bit like, this is so much stress. And then like, what if I do all this work and it doesn't work out? So I was having a lot of doubt.
is that doubt there? Is there
There's
that
a lot of
possibility
doubt.
that it might?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, I told all my mates that I'd applied for exchange. And
Yeah.
for me, I was like, I definitely, whether this is a bit like childish or immature, I definitely would have felt a bit embarrassed if I didn't get accepted and then had to turn around and say to everyone who I told I wanted to go on exchange and be like, oh, actually, I didn't get in. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
personally,
mean,
for
I
me,
can't imagine they would have thought worse of you for it, but I can
yeah,
understand the
yeah, just like for me personally, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to say I didn't get in. I don't want to say I failed, which is like silly, but that was just a little thing I had.
Mm.
Then when I did, like when it all got accepted, like that, I was like, okay, yeah, this was all worth it because I felt awesome and I was like, this is exciting, and now I'm here, and I guess I'm interested to see how the European schooling system works. I know it's a lot more intensive over here, which is why people don't get jobs. I guess like back in RMIT, I was doing 2 to 3 days a week, full days, but just 2 to 3. Over here, it's like 5 days a week, maybe 4 to 5 hours a day, and it's like a lot of home study. So I think it feels a bit more like high school here, to be completely honest. The way it's so intense
Yeah.
and 100%, and it's like attendance is mandatory, which is different for me being an RMIT student.
I think
Like
RMIT is pretty,
yeah, I'm so used to like, like it doesn't matter. I can just teach myself at home, which I love doing, but I can't do that here. And another thing is they lock the doors after 5 minutes. So if your class starts at 11, you get there at 11, 10 past 11, the lecturer is probably not going to let you in, which
Ooh.
is like really interesting because you're paying for a course. And it's like, I don't know, sometimes you're going to be late.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a high school vibe.
yeah, it is a massive high
How
school, which
how
I don't
does
like. Like, don't
yeah
appreciate that, to be
That's a
honest.
bit, yeah, that's a bit unreasonable because what if you like
Yeah.
miss your bus or something?
does that missed
Yeah.
attendance affect your mark?
Yes. So I was reading it just earlier. It's like you have to get a certain amount of attendance or else their lecturer slash professor has the opportunity to remove you from the course.
Yeah.
And then you have a sit down meeting and all that. Or if you miss a certain amount, they can choose another option, which is to get you to do like a mini assessment task on the content you've missed. And if you don't get a good grade on that, then they can be like, all right, sorry, like you're out. You obviously can't keep up. So it's
Such
like
a process. What?
I don't like it. I'm glad I'm here and I'm like it's a cool place. The lecturers are all really nice. To be fair, I've met with a few of them. They're super nice, but it's just really blunt here. Like it's their way or the highway, I guess. There's no,
Mm.
you don't have that RMIT style of I'm just going to do the work myself. If I get a good grade, that's on me. If I need the lecturer's help, I'll get the lecturer's help. You
Mm.
know, the way there's that sort of independent vibe with uni in Australia and
Mm.
RMIT especially. So yeah, that's one way it differs for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, massive
Yeah,
high school vibes from that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
for sure.
I'll let you know how I start next week. So next time we check
Cool.
in, I can let you guys know how that's going.
Do a bit of a recap.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Do we have anything else on the old agenda?
Um,
I think that covers uni pretty well. We definitely
Mm.
got very, very sidetracked a lot this
Oh
episode,
yeah,
but this is good content, really good content.
part of the fun.
Yeah, that was cool. That was fun. Um, music, music of the week.
Music of the week. This
Yeah.
is it.
shotgun.
The
Not
famous
I'm just
segments.
writing something.
Very excited.
I'll go
You want
first
to
then.
start? You want to start? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. So I've been listening to a lot of Parcels. They're a band from
So
Byron
good.
Bay. Yeah, so good, man. They're from Byron Bay, and they got picked up by Daft Punk, taken to Berlin, and you know anyone who goes to Berlin ends up pretty cool. So they got
That's how it
massive over
works.
there. Yeah, they got huge over there, and then came back to Australia, I believe. You can definitely hear the Daft Punk influence in all of their music. Like it's 100% there, but it's such a cool, creative, really fun influence. So I'm loving those guys at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Unreal.
Saw them live earlier in the year, and it was a sick live show. They know how to put on a show. So if you ever get the
Where,
chance,
So what sort of music do they do?
that's a really good question. It's like
yeah, how do you describe
how
parcels?
do you describe that? Like Spotify is always good for giving a
A
description
good
of that sort.
description of, yeah.
They also all have really nice haircuts. Another little note.
It's always a good quality for a man. Well,
Yeah.
while you're looking that up, I'll
Yeah.
So I've been listening to the playlist on Spotify that's been like dedicated to Strawberry Fields, a music festival that's coming up in November. Very excited about going. So I've just been trying to just try to listen to all the unnamed or unknown artists. For me, I only knew a few that were on the lineup.
Yeah.
And I came across this artist. They're called Digital Africa with a
Yeah,
K.
I've heard of them.
And they are. It's just this super cool, super like dancey
It's literally like
tune.
Digital Africa.
Yeah,
That's
it
like what
literally
it
is
sounds
Digital
like.
Africa. It's this awesome, yeah, super dancey techno and lots of bongos, lots of like the
Nice.
African style
Who
drums.
are they
Like
called, actually?
Digital Africa, Africa spelled with a K.
Yeah.
They're so much fun to listen to. Honestly, like I had them on like all day today, just in my room. I was like
Nice.
getting some work done. It was super nice vibes.
Nice.
Definitely at any moment I could have got up and had a party. It was good music.
That's great.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
As for myself, I've been listening to more than well, the one thing that comes to mind that I've been listening to is Jonathan Lean do a 96 on Spotify.
It's a mouthful.
So yeah, it's a mouthful. But for those might know him better by his like more general like artist name is Young Lean, the rapper. So yeah,
Okay.
he's a Swedish rapper. But this is his like side project. He does like really weird sort of stuff normally, but this other stuff is even more different. So like him, I'm not even gonna get into it. It's just really interesting and yeah, sort of it's good.
Young Lean.
Yeah.
Does he do a song called Red Bottom Sky?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I definitely know who Young Lean is.
Yeah. I really like his music actually.
Yeah, that's a good.
Nice.
I mean, I don't listen to a lot of Young Lean, but I love that song, Red Bottom Sky. It's a nice. I think that would probably be a good sort of entry point if you're trying to listen to Young Lean.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
a good one by him.
Red Bottom Skies. Let me get that down. I also had a look at the Parcels. So they do pop, basically. It's pop.
So it is
Like
pop. Yeah.
yeah, it's pop. But they say that they're trying to remove the taboo around the word pop, which is pretty cool because like there's definitely a bit of taboo. Like you hear pop and you're like, oh, like that's like oh Katy Perry and Cardi B and all that shit. But you're like, they're trying to make it just pop music, and they say that it's pop music because it makes you feel good, which is what pop music does. And they definitely listening to their music, you definitely feel pretty good after. It's like, it's fun. I'd maybe go. There's a bit of a disco vibe in there. Definitely put that in. Bit of electronic.
Electronic, yeah.
Yeah. Check them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wholesomeness of the week. Oh no, we'll start with the peeve of the week. We'll start with the negatives.
Yeah.
What have we got? What have we got?
Oh, okay. This is a sad excuse for a peeve, but I guess I've just been having a pretty positive time, so good thing about it. But it's been really nice in Melbourne. You wouldn't know, but it has been last 3 or 4 days super sunny. Every morning I've gotten up, looked outside, and it honestly looks like the best summer day. And it just gets me really excited. And then I walk outside and it's like 9 or 10 degrees and it is just like way too cold and you got to rug up, and it's like that sort of moment when you realize it's not summer, that's been peeving me off. Bad thing to complain about, but
so you're not a fan of the bright and cold weather?
No, so I love the brightness, but if it's cold, I'm not a big fan of cold. I like the snow, but you can never get me out in the cold now.
Right,
Fair.
interesting.
Yeah.
Owen?
Curtis, have you? Oh, okay.
The delay things.
All right, so
I'm just running because I don't have one, so I'm just running from.
Okay, well, you better start thinking.
I can't. Okay.
Think of
We're all
something
having
shit.
too good of a time.
Have some dark thoughts. Okay, so my peeve is I don't really have like a phrase for what it is, but in our student accommodation, which is super fucking expensive, by the way, there's a lot of shit that's just halfway done. Like, it's just. So we didn't get a kettle or a toaster or an oven or a microwave. It's just a hob, like, and it's a really shit hob. And the pots and pans are. I'm complaining so much right now, but it's like the light in the kitchen. It's definitely like it's so dim and it's so shit. And you'd think that on each turnover they could just be like, okay, let's check the bulbs. Put in a new bulb in any rooms where the lights bust. And in my food, like my cupboard for food, one of the shelves is like sloping, so all my food just falls off it. Like small shit like that.
That's just stupid.
We're paying like a significant amount of money for accommodation.
Like a bit more.
That just those little things like
polish.
Where like you know. It's
not even polish. You want to fucking flat.
I got lentils going everywhere. It's fine. But it's just like when you're paying money for something, you want a service that's like someone's put their, they've put time into it and gone, yeah, someone's going to enjoy this. You're going to get use out of it. It's not just like half-ass. People who half-ass shit. Not all the time. You're allowed to half-ass sometimes, but like, just because it's affecting me, I'm not happy, man. I'm not happy. I'm peeved off, guys. I got a bone to pick.
Yeah, fair fucking enough.
I like this segment a lot.
Yeah.
You gotta get mad.
Complain about. I just want my mornings to be nice and warm, man. I can't wait for summer.
Fuck this shit. Curtis, what do you thought of?
My peeve of the week?
Yeah.
Not being able to think of a peeve of the week.
It's really done you dirty.
Yeah. Nice. You can only use that once. That's like call offense. You can never use that again.
I need to think of something next time. But one thing that did just come to mind is how quickly the sun's setting at the moment. Like it's 6 o'clock and it's almost fucking dark outside.
It's definitely the one thing I miss so much about summer.
What's it like over there?
Sunsets at like 9 p.m.
Oh Jesus, that's like height of summer in Melbourne.
Yeah. But apparently in the winter here it drops like that. Like you get fuck all sunlight.
Apparently it rains a lot too.
I'm trying to put that out of my head, man. Just don't bring it up.
Ready for that?
No, not at all. Wholesomeness of the week. Let's go.
I got some catch up to do. I'm gonna give you a wholesomeness of the last 7 weeks of my life.
Oh,
I have been hopping around on my one foot with a broken foot, and people just constantly doing things for me, opening doors.
Nice.
Probably the most significant of the whole experience. I went to uni, and I'd put my crutches down probably like 2 meters away from where I was sitting, just so they were out of the way. They're up against the wall. And I went and sat down. It was like a 3-hour lecture, so I wasn't going to touch them. And I was sitting there, and I'm sort of packing up. And I'm always the last to leave the classroom. I sort of wait to the end, especially if I'm sort of fumbling around. I packed up all my stuff, and I turned around to leave my seat, and this guy, I'd never met him before in my life, was just standing there with my crutches, like waiting for me to be done, and like handed them to me. I was like, wow, like, thank you so much. Like it was a very small thing. Like I just didn't have to hop that extra 2 meters, but it was just like I didn't know this guy, and I remember he's like, yeah, no worries, and like walked away with his mate. And I could like overhear them like just sort of laughing about it, and he was just saying to his friends like, "Oh, I know how it feels," and I was like, like
That's nice.
that's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but there's been like I said, 7 weeks of me in this cast. Your friends coming to visit, people holding doors open, like so small, but like doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Nice.
For
That
sure.
is super wholesome.
Yeah.
Curtis?
My wholesomeness of the week. Who, me? I can actually deliver in this instance. Today, my wholesomeness of the week occurred today when a friend of mine, Ed Mason, sent me a text saying, "Come down to Eddie Gardens in Fitzroy and play some basketball on the courts there." And we spent about 2 hours today just balling out, and the weather was insane.
It was super nice today. Yeah.
That's
So that was
hectic,
just,
nice.
it was like such a good time, like simple, such good fun, just like contented with how good that day was. Huge, like so tired afterwards, good workout, sunburn. It's fucking
You got
sick.
sunburn?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah,
We're
fuck
back,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's been a long summer. I mean, long winter.
So yeah, grateful for that occurrence today.
Mm.
What about you, Owen?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna flex a little bit. I was in Brussels earlier in the week, and I went and bought myself a sandwich from a place called Tonton Garbi. It's like this tiny little sandwich bar tucked away into a side street in Brussels, run by this dude. And when you walk in, there's all these like handwritten. It's like a book
I
like
saw
that.
your Instagram story.
Yeah, the pages have been torn out, and people are just reviewing it on these pages around the whole thing, and they're like frothing it. And he's got all these signs up that are like, "I want to make you smile," and like all this like kind of cheesy shit. But I was like, that's cool. I'm going. And anyway, it's like a 20-minute wait in the line. Was like
really interesting point about that. You just called it cheesy. I reckon that's an Aussie thing to do. I reckon Europeans would like, they really mean that. Like
actually it's not as much of a joke around here. It's like, yeah, no, 100% good pickup.
Yeah. They want to make you smile.
Yeah, legit. So I finally get up there and I'm like, "Oh yeah, man, I have no idea what I want." He had all these cheeses on selection. That's like the idea. It's a cheese shop sandwich. And he like starts recommending all this stuff and having a chat to me. "How's your day? What are you doing in Brussels?" That sort of stuff. And like really pouring the time into getting to know me. And then we decide on a sandwich. It was only like €5, which is cheap over here from so far in my experiences. And then he like gave it to me, and he was like, "Before you go, like just have a bite while he's still here." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I had a bite in front of him, and he was like, "How was it?" And it was like fucking incredible. Best sandwich I've ever had, hands down. And he
can't do much better than that.
Mate, it was pretty hectic.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "All right, cool. I just wanted to make sure you enjoy it before you pay for it." And I was just like, holy shit, what a man. Like, that's respect. And it's not like he could be doing all that just to get money, but judging by the price of the sandwiches, which is super humble, he genuinely wants people to enjoy his craftsmanship, which is a cheese sandwich.
A man who loves his job.
My man. Yeah. So
that's so good.
It was hectic. That's my love of work.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was awesome. Thank you, Tonton Garbi.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tonton Garbi.
Yeah, big shout out.
For those
big
of you
ups.
traveling to Brussels.
Yeah, go to Tonton,
Give
Garvey.
him a plug.
Okay, maybe we can get a sponsorship. Cheese sandwiches for life.
Oh, that'd be alright. Can they ship them to Australia?
Probably might go off a bit.
You want the express postage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next
sweaty
day or
cheese. Yum.
moldy shit.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think that kind of does us for this episode. This has
Yeah.
been super fun.
That was
Sam,
so fun. I really like that. Yeah.
good debut.
Sam Mosen, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an hour and 5 minutes as well. You're welcome.
You've done
Jeez,
well.
that goes so quick. Hey?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy your day.
Yeah.
What are you getting
I
up to
will.
today?
I'm gonna go to the uni. I've got a meeting. Then gonna head down to the fresh produce market, and then I think there's a bit of a student thing on tonight. So probably suss that, have prees in an apartment, and mosey on down.
Enjoy,
Oh,
brother.
Boys, what's on for the rest of the Friday night?
We're planning on
out.
going. We're having some prees here actually, and then heading out to an event run by Handle. Little
I've
collective
seen
in
that.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks
So, Pretty Girl is the headliner.
headliner.
And our friend Will Dundon, aka Most Days, is doing the opening 3-hour set for that.
Oh, beautiful. Cool.
So we'll
Man.
be taking that in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good. That sounds good. I don't miss home. That sounds good.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll send you some videos maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You live
no,
it through
don't.
us.
It'll make it worse. All right.
man.
Alright.
Well, thanks for
Episode
listening, everyone.
9.
And that's episode 9. Yeah, see you all in the next one. Enjoy tonight, guys.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks guys. See you,
Thanks.
audience members.